The city of Calgary is on fire this month. That's right. We've had a record-breaking month with the highest ever sales this year, but also we've broken the benchmark price to have the highest price ever. Calgary is right now the most expensive it has ever been. So yes, this video is going to be full of surprises. Make sure you watch till the end of the video to know everything you need to know about all the different property types and the different areas about Calgary if you are thinking about buying, investing, moving to Calgary. This is Ash, your Calgary Realtor, updating you everything you need to know about the Calgary market, the lifestyle. Make sure you subscribe, hit that like button to get all the future updates about everything you need to know about Calgary. To kick it off, we have the summary. Now, I'm not going to go through every single line. Feel free to pause the video and read it through. There are three main highlights here. As you can see, the top line, the apartment condominium sales is what's contributed to the largest number of sales this year, 3,120, a new record high. And then we have with a sales to new listings ratio of 85%, which is pretty high. A months of supply on inventory is just 1 month. Conditions continue to favor sellers, placing us in a very strong seller's market and a high upward pressure on house prices. And lastly, the high interest rate environment and also the recent rental gains have driven more consumers to seek apartment condominium units. A lot of people are feeling the pressure, both in terms of first-time home buyers. People who initially were going for the higher price range are now being pushed down into the mid to lower price range, and we've seen this surge in apartment purchases. In addition, the recent rise in new apartment listings has provided enough options to support the sales gains. So we were out of apartments. We did not have enough inventory when it came to apartments, and this has dramatically picked up, which has allowed a variety of options for those looking in that price range. Calgary continues to benefit from the relatively healthy job market and recent population growth keeping housing demand strong across all properties. Now, a lot of people might say, hey, this doesn't seem right. I've heard that the job market in Calgary isn't really all that great. And so this is more a general statement across all different sectors. I will make an in-depth video about the job market in Calgary, specifically all the different sectors and which ones have the highest promise in the near future and why a lot of people are struggling to find good jobs in Calgary. It is, in short, it is more of an issue of matching the skills to the available jobs versus an actual reflection of the job industry itself. So make sure you subscribe if you are interested in that topic. Finally, at the bottom, you can see that we've reached a benchmark price of 557,000, and this is much higher than last year's peak price of just 543. So we've definitely seen an increase this year. Now, to look at all of this in a slightly different format, you can see here the total residential price, the benchmark price, and now this is something that covers all property types, right? So this has risen to 557,000, up 2.6% year over year. The detached price has hit 674. We have semi-detached at 600, apartment 286, and townhouse is now at 390. As you can see here, the apartment price, as I highlighted, it's been absolutely crazy this month. We just keep going into this upward trend. It was stagnant for a long time, and since then, once we hit the pivot and we changed trajectory, it's just been in a constant upwards trend. We've seen a 10.9% year over year increase. In terms of new listings, we are down by 15%. We are down to only 3,652, and that explains the amount of pressure on the Calgary market. There's clearly not enough listings for the amount of people that want to purchase new homes, and so we're seeing this contraction happen, and it's just getting worse and worse each month. I have a graph that will show you exactly what's happening with this data. In terms of inventory, you can see we are on a decline year over year. We're only at 3,207 properties, and for the months of supply, we are at 1.03. This is down 39.6% year over year. This is because of a lack of inventory, but the amount of buyers have put so much pressure that homes barely are lasting on the market. Now, this 1.03 is an average and does look high, but the ground reality is much worse than this. I feel bad for a lot of the buyers out there. We are seeing bidding wars happen, and some of the properties, they come on the market and they're gone within 2 days. You book an open house, you try to visit the property, and it's already gone and taken off the market. So it is a difficult market to navigate. Reach out to me, let me know what you're looking for, and I can help you with different strategies that are extremely essential in this kind of a market. Next, we're going to look at the detailed stats for each property type. The key things that I want to highlight here, as I told you, the months of supply, that was just an average number of 1.03. But if you specifically look at semi-detached and row townhouses, we are down to 0.84 months of supply, and for row we are down to 0.81 months of supply. And look at this. This is absolutely crazy. The apartment sales is up by 36% year over year. The year over year percentage is up 36%. The demand for apartments has grown rapidly. Gone are the days where you could buy an apartment for 120, 150. Right now, the benchmark price, of course, like I showed you before, is much higher. Looking a little bit more into details about the different property types, feel free to pause the screen, read through it, depending on which property type you are trying to go after. There are some very key important highlights that I will go through on the screen, and then you can get in touch with me if you are curious about something else that I've not covered or something else that is more important to you. Right over in Detached, we can see that new listings continue to fall for homes priced below 700,000, providing limited choice for consumers seeking out lower price detached. Lower price detached is becoming lesser and lesser of an option. So if you were considering detached and you were trying to move out to Calgary because of that price range, you are going to slowly start getting priced out of the market. Most of the properties coming on the market are now above that $700,000 range. The year-over-year gains range from a high of 12% in East District. East District, we will go over it a little bit later, but that part of Calgary has seen a dramatic increase in property value, and I have been telling this to my clients, speaking to all my friends, anyone I speak to, I always tell them the East District is the much neglected part of town. It got undermined in terms of property prices for a long time, but there's a huge promise with its proximity to downtown, and we're clearly seeing that return of value now. So even on semi-detached, in terms of months of supply, we've dropped to below 1 month of supply. This is the 7th consecutive month where prices have trended up, and as of May, levels are over 3% higher than last year's monthly peak. So this is just trending up constantly. Again, East District at nearly 12%. In terms of row townhouses, new listings in May improved over levels seen earlier in the year, but thanks to monthly gains in sales, the sales to new listings ratio remain exceptionally high at 89%. So again, there's still a lot of competition. Even though we have seen more listings come on the market, it is nowhere enough to compensate for the amount of demand that we are seeing from buyers for this particular price range. Again, because people are getting priced out of detached, people are getting priced out of semi-detached. So row apartments, huge demand. Inventory levels are down 50% compared to last year, exceeding 15% of the city's northeast, south, and east districts. Also, very good returns. When we come down to apartments, sales in May have reached 858 units, a year-over-year gain of 36%. Despite the gain in new listings, the sales to new listings ratio remained high at 84%. So I told you, we did see a huge surge of new apartment supply coming back on the market, but the demand for it has just coincided at a time that it almost balanced out, or worse, kept the sales to listing ratio pretty high at 84%. The recent growth has finally caused unadjusted apartment condominium prices to return to 2014 levels. This is crazy. Since 2014, anyone who's owned an apartment in Calgary will tell you they've just been waiting for the day when they would see the same prices that they bought it at in 2014, and it's been a long time. And only now we're touching back to those prices. But looking at that strong trend that we did earlier in apartments, the only way from here is up. There's still no supply on the market. There's still no supply. Overall, year-over-year price growth ranged from 16% in North District to a low of 10% growth in the city center. Looking overall at the Calgary graph, you can see very different price ranges. East, like I highlighted before, an undermined part of the city, has now seen substantial growth year-over-year at 10.6%, but also their price range is much lower than anywhere else in Calgary, sitting at 370. Over on the west, they've also seen relatively good gains, very high demand area. Right now, a lot of people are looking out here in the west and the northwest, and you've got the southeast. These areas are really in high demand and pumping. Out here you can see 5.2%. Northwest we got 603. In the north we got 525. Even this part of Calgary is becoming quite appealing, and certain property types in the south are doing very well too. Let's look into more details. The City of Calgary total sales, like I said, year over year, we went from 3063 to 3120. Overall, the City of Calgary, the total sales has gone up by 1.86%. New listings are down by 15%, but our inventory is even worse off, down by minus 38%. In terms of months of supply, last year, this time, we had 1.7 months of supply. In comparison, now we're down to an average of 1.03 that we highlighted before. That's a decrease of minus 39%. That's a very high pressure market. The benchmark price, year-over-year change has gone up by 2.58%. The average price has gone up by 6.14%. A lot of realtors will swear by just only looking at the benchmark price, and that is completely fair because the benchmark price is a more accurate representation of where the market's at and how much it has increased, because the benchmark price looks at a very specific house type with specific number of bedrooms, bathrooms, location. There's a whole bunch of factors that go into it, and it tracks the price of those kind of houses. So it is more accurate, but I also tell my clients, don't completely ignore average price, because while average price can fluctuate a lot, you have the high end, the low end, that causes a lot of skewing in the average price, but it also gives you an idea what people are willing to pay and what the high-end product types are in terms of how much the price has increased on that side. And so somewhere in between this is where I would ask my clients to consider what they would be expecting to pay. 2.58 is a more conservative number. Next, we're going to look at a more detailed summary of all the numbers and stats for each property type. I'm not going to read out every single number. I'm going to highlight what's really important to look at in terms of a year-over-year perspective. As you can see, the total sales has declined by 8%. However, the new listings has declined by minus 19%. So therefore, our months of supply is really at minus 37% in terms of detached properties. And so our benchmark price is up by 4.1%. And this is a year-over-year change, right? So we've gone from 647 to 674. In terms of apartments, we have seen a huge surge in sales. The new listings are nowhere as close to keep up with the amount of sales that's happening. And so therefore, you have an extremely low months of supply at minus 43%, leading to a benchmark price increase of 10.8%. In terms of semi-detached, we have a total sales increase of 5.68%. Again, new listings minus 24. And so our months of supply is down to minus 45% from last year. And so that has led to an increase of benchmark price at 3.2%. Remember, these are year-over-year numbers, right? In terms of city of Calgary, row townhouse, we have seen a decrease of sales at minus 10%. The new listings are down by minus 27, and months of supply minus 46. So therefore, we have seen a benchmark price increase of 8.68%, the highest here. So what does this tell you? There's a common trend among all of this. There's just no supply. There's high demand, decent sales, but then that has put a very high pressure on the sales price. Next, we're going to look at the detailed chart based on area and property type. So this will just paint a picture of how different areas are performing for different property types. It's something that is very important and you should keep in mind. Again, if you're looking at a very specific area, specific property type, reach out to me. There's a lot more data that goes behind this, and I can help you navigate the market to find a better fit for what you are looking for specifically. Now, looking at detached properties in city center, we are sitting at a sales to listings ratio at 60%, right? So we have a lot of new listings at 246 and the sales at 150. So we have extremely high, not extremely, but relatively high inventory, giving us a months of supply of 2.38. Whereas in south and southeast, completely different picture. We are sitting at a sales to new listing ratio at 93%, bringing us down to 0.68 or 0.72 months of supply. So if you are looking at south and southeast, it's a lot more competitive than some of the other areas. In terms of apartments, clearly, you can see the amount of supply is very, very close to the number of sales that are happening, but it's still not enough. It just gives us 1.8 months of supply, and I feel like this is going to get worse. In terms of southeast, that's where it's at its peak again. We have nowhere close to the number of apartments that we need in terms of the amount of demand for apartments. We're sitting at 108%, barely 0.6. So that's like 2 weeks, really. 2 weeks and some. In terms of semi-detached, again, in the north, extremely high demand, same as south and southeast. We're sitting at anywhere between 131 to 143%, barely 0.3 weeks of supply. That brings you down to less than 2 weeks. There's not enough semi-detached properties on the market in these areas. In terms of row and townhouses, you can see again, not able to keep up in the southeast. Not enough people listing properties. We only have 60 properties, but then we have sold 75, giving us a 125%, so barely half month in terms of number of properties that we have on the market. Now, this is a very interesting stat that clearly outlines what's happening. You can see we're at an all-time high sales in terms of all the years from 09 when it comes to May. but the total inventory is on the opposite direction. We are in fact at an all-time low. So these two are in a completely different direction, creating extreme pressure in the middle, making buyers go into bidding wars and pay extra money. In terms of months of supply, we have the row townhouses that are extremely high demand in Southeast, and that's why you can see the months of inventory extremely low at closer to 0.5. Same for semi-detached Southeast. When it comes to apartments, though, it's more on the northeast and north side that we are seeing an extremely high contraction in terms of the amount of supply available. And when it comes to detached properties, the demand is a little bit more distributed. We have extremely high inventory in the city center, but apart from that, it's primarily southeast, south, northwest, and north that are facing a lot of pressures in terms of number of houses available for that. So if you're looking for a detached property in either one of these areas, make sure you contact me and we can go through all the data and take you through the market together and get you into your dream home. In terms of benchmark price, in terms of total residential, you can see where the benchmark price sits at per area. So depending on the area that you're looking at, this is a distribution by property type. So for detached properties, it's the highest right now on the west side. When it comes to apartments, it's more or less balanced, but the highest is, of course, city center. When it comes to semi-detached, again, city center at its highest, followed by the west. In terms of the row houses, the city center, again, pretty high. And in terms of total residential, a relatively balanced picture, except for the east, which, again, I told you, has a very high chance of catching up. Finally, to close it off, you can see in these graphs the clear picture of what's happening in the Calgary market. The benchmark price is just sitting shy of 560, and that is clearly because of this. As you can see, the sales to listing, the inventory ratio used to be much far apart, but now it is close. And if this takes over, that's not going to be very good for buyers. In terms of the total months of inventory, clearly we've seen a huge decline ever since mid-2022. The city of Calgary total price change, you can see the year-over-year percentage change has dramatically shot up this year. Total prices has actually also gone up. So this is the benchmark price. You got your median price here on the blue line, and then on this side, on the right side, you got your total prices. The green being your average price, the median price, and the benchmark price, all of them headed up in the same direction. So as you can see, there's a lot of pressure right now. There's a lot of upward pressure on the market. If you are worried how you are going to navigate the Calgary market, reach out to me. Let's have a chat. Let's talk through this, see what your requirements are. There are a lot of different strategies that I recommend based on the client and their needs. So stay tuned to know more things about Calgary. I do all kinds of videos about Calgary lifestyle, what it is like to live here, all the pros, the cons, and everything there is to know about Calgary. Till then, see you in the next video.